Welcome to Traveler's Tales. I am your host, Greg Alonzo, and I will be your guide through history. Today we will be taking a look at daily life in antiquity. However, before we begin, just a reminder that we post new videos every Tuesday and Friday. Let's begin with the Minoan civilization. They were a Bronze Age civilization on the Greek island of Crete, and also other islands throughout the Aegean. The Minoans flourished from 3000 before the Common Era until their gradual decline in 1100 before the Common Era. The Minoans represent the first advanced civilization in Europe, leaving behind massive building complexes, tools, artwork, writing systems, and a massive network of trade. The Minoan period saw extensive trade between Crete, Aegean and Mediterranean settlements, particularly the Near East. Through their traders and artists, the culture of the Minoans reached beyond Crete to the Cyclades, Egypt, Cyprus, Canaan, the Levantine coast, and Anatolia. The name Minoan was first penned by the British archaeologist Sir Arthur Evans. The name Minoan derives from the mythical king Minos of Crete. The Minoan civilization is particularly notable for its large and elaborate palaces, which were built up to 4 stories high. The 2 premier structures were at Knossos and Phaistos. These structures were notable in that they were beautifully decorated with frescoes, pervaded comfortable style of living, not yet experienced by other peoples of the time. Perhaps most impressive is that these dwellings featured elaborate plumbing systems. With regard to diet, the Minoans raised cattle, sheep, pigs, and goats. They grew wheat, barley, vetch, and chickpeas. They also cultivated grapes, figs, olives, and poppies. Their diet also included a wide array of vegetables, including lettuce, celery, asparagus, and carrots. Fruits also abounded as they grew pear, quince, dates, and pomegranates. It appears that the Minoans understood and practiced polyculture, which their healthy diet resulted in a steady population increase. There is also evidence that farmers used wooden plows bound with leather to wooden handles and pulled by pairs of donkeys or oxen. They even domesticated bees. Seafood was also important in Minoan cuisine, and fishing was one of their major activities. The island of Crete was home to such wild game as deer and wild boar, which the Minoans included in their diet. We see in the elaborate frescoes that women were portrayed quite differently from men. Most obviously, men were portrayed with dark skin, while women were represented with lighter skin. Fresco paintings also portrayed 3 class levels of women. First, the elite. Next came the women of the masses, and lastly, the servants. Overall, Minoan women were seen as wives, mothers, and active participants in ritual and worship. On an interesting note, it seems that the religious beliefs of the Minoans focused on female deities. The Minoans were primarily a mercantile people who engaged in overseas trade. Their culture also indicates a high degree of organization and quality of life. Phoenicia was an ancient Semitic civilization that originated in the Levant region of the eastern Mediterranean, primarily in modern-day Lebanon. At its height, between 1100 before the Common Era and 200 before the Common Era, the Phoenician civilization spread across the Mediterranean from the Levant to the Iberian Peninsula. The term Phoenicia is an exonym from ancient Greek that most likely described a dye also known as Tyrrhenian purple, a major export of Canaanite port towns. The Phoenicians came to prominence following the collapse of most major cultures during the Bronze Age. They were renowned in antiquity as adept merchants, expert seafarers, and intrepid explorers. The Phoenicians developed an expansive maritime trade network that lasted over a millennium, becoming the dominant commercial power for much of classical antiquity. Phoenician trade also helped facilitate the exchange of culture, ideas, and knowledge between major cradles of civilization such as Greece, Egypt, and Mesopotamia. Phoenician civilization was organized into independent city-states, of which most notable were Tyre, Sidon, Byblos, and Carthage. Since very little of the Phoenicians' own writings have survived, much of what is known about their culture and society comes from accounts by contemporary civilizations or inferences from archaeological discoveries. The Phoenicians had much in common with other Canaanites, including language, religion, and social customs. As was common in antiquity, Phoenician women had few rights and were considered the property of their fathers or husbands. Nonetheless, compared to their counterparts in most of the Mediterranean and Western Asia, they appeared to have enjoyed some freedoms. Women were known to have taken part in public events and religious processions. It was common for women to join men in a relaxed banquet setting and enjoy music and dancing. However, with regard to dress, women were expected to behave more modestly than men. Women were draped from head to feet, with their arms covered as well. As for religious practices and the beliefs of Phoenicia, they were generally cognate to those of their neighbors in the Canaan and the ancient Semitic world. A final note on religion. There has been a long-time debate between scholars if the Phoenician people actually practiced child sacrifice. We do know for a fact that they practiced temple prostitution. The Etruscan civilization of ancient Italy covered a territory at its greatest extent of what is roughly now Tuscany, western Umbria, and northern Lazio. The earliest evidence of a culture that is identifiably Etruscan dates from about 900 before the Common Era. Etruscans were known for their art. They excelled in marble and metalworking. Bronze was their specialty. Along with terracotta earthenware, these items brought great wealth through trade with the neighbors of Etruria. Etruscan culture was greatly influenced by ancient Greeks, and as a result, they practiced polytheism. The Etruscans took on a pantheon of Greek gods and heroes. It was believed that through the gods, they learned how to live and behave. It is often argued that the Etruscans brought about a bridge between the Greeks and the Romans. The family was of great importance to the Etruscans. This could be seen in their princely tombs. The final resting place was not that of the individual. The burial tomb was of a multi-generational family to be interred. It is interesting to note that on a son's sarcophagi, both his father's and mother's names were inscribed. Though an aristocratic class arose, Etruscans placed the family at the center of their society. They believed in monogamy and took marriage quite seriously. The role of the woman in Etruscan society was of great importance. She enjoyed a more equal status to her husband than was common among the ancient cultures of the time. Banquets and festive dining was a common part of Etruscan life, and women equally joined in on the revelry. It is most evident that Etruscan culture was fun-loving and that Etruscan people were more relaxed and easy with one another and participated in pleasurable activities together. The role of Etruscan women was not only seen as mothers and caregivers, they also played an integral part in the role of the family. Etruscan women were also renowned for their knowledge of the spiritual world. Etruscans held religious advisors in high esteem and consulted them regularly. Though the Etruscans had their own female deities, they also readily incorporated female Greek deities into their existing pantheon. Overall, the ancients regarded Etruscan women as remarkable and different. Etruscan civilization endured until power throughout the Italian peninsula shifted away from the Etruscans in favor of the rising Roman Republic. Etruria was assimilated into the Roman society in the late 4th century before the Common Era as a result of the Roman-Etruscan Wars. This is the end of Part 1 of Daily Life in Antiquity. In Part 2, we will take a look at your questions and comments. Just as a reminder, we post new videos every Tuesday and Friday. Don't forget to hit the little bell icon to be notified each time we post new videos. For your convenience, we have posted our email address and Instagram information. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Traveler's Tales. Partistos.